I Ching, O ancient oracle, what does my future hold? It says death. Oh no, wait, that line is prosperity. So what do you think? Is divination fantasy or reality? Let's take a look. Hi, welcome to your fantasy portal. I'm your host, Donna. Today we'll delve into the mysterious world of divination by learning how to consult the ancient Chinese oracle called the I Ching. So, what is the I Ching? The I Ching is also known as the Book of Changes and is one of the oldest texts in existence. It's been used for a divination tool for more than 3,000 years and is still used today. It has its roots in the culture of the ancient Shang dynasty, which ruled China between the 16th and 11th centuries BC. By asking the I Ching questions, you'll get answers to help guide you through life and perhaps predict your future. As a bonus, at the end of the video, I'll show you how to get a yes or no answer. So be sure to watch to the end. So, how do we consult the I Ching? An ancient method for casting an I Ching reading involves a laborious process of sorting 50 stem stalks from the yarrow plant. The popular method used today in modern times, and one that I'll be showing you, is by tossing coins. Then I'm going to show you an even faster and easier way to get a reading. But to begin, you're going to need 3 coins. Here are some of the coins you can use to get your I Ching reading. You can buy I Ching coins like these in a spiritual store or online. You can see these are my favorites right here, and you can see this one has a yang and a number 3, and on the other side it has a yin and a number 2, and those are my favorite to use. And you may be familiar with the concept from the well-known yin-yang sign. And yang symbolizes male energy and represents the sign's positive aspect. It's considered the head side of the coin, and the yin symbolizes female energy and represents a negative aspect. It's considered the tail side of the coin. Traditionally, the coins are made of bronze or copper. To get a reading from the I Ching, you can use any coins that have a clear heads and tails side, like pennies. Next, grab something to write with, like a pen and paper that I have here. To interpret your reading, you're going to need a chart comprised of 64 hexagrams. A hexagram is what gives you the answer to your question. You can buy an I Ching book with the hexagrams in them, or borrow a book from your local library, or do an online search for an I Ching hexagram chart with interpretations. There are plenty of good books available. These are some that I use to get an I Ching reading. I have a cat, so some of them are chewed up. The books represent the author's unique interpretation of the hexagrams, a subject that is endlessly discussed and debated throughout the centuries. The books aren't meant to be read from beginning to end. This is the book I use most often. It's easy to understand. It's great for beginners and for those who've been casting the I Ching for many years like me, and I still use it. It has a hexagram chart in the back, and the I Ching consists of 64 hexagrams, each with 6 lines that represent all possible conditions in life. A hexagram's interpretation is what gives you an answer to your question. So you have your book, your pen, paper, and your coins. Now it's time to set up the consultation. Find a place that's calm and quiet so you're able to concentrate on asking your questions and receiving the answers. Having said that, the last thing you need is the question you want to ask. Ask about anything in your life you want to get insight about or gain clarity on. The I Ching doesn't answer vague questions, so use a clear question or a short sentence and write it out in full to make sure your consultation provides the most accurate answer. The answers are meant to provide guidance based on the teachings of Taoism, Confucianism, and Buddhism. Now, shake the 3 coins in your hands while contemplating your question. Gently toss them onto the table. Look to see which side they landed on, and we're going to add the value of the numbers. I have a 3, which is a yang, a 2 that's a yin, and a 2 that's a yin. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to write the number 7 If the number is odd, either a 7 or 9, draw an unbroken line next to the number. If it's even, either a 6 or an 8, draw a line that is broken in the center. If you cast a 6, draw a broken line with an X in the middle. If it's a 9, draw an unbroken line with an O through it. The 6 and 9s are changing lines that represent aspects of your situation that are in motion. If you get no changing lines, meaning no 6 or no 9 values, when you cast a hexagram, that signifies the conditions related to your topic are relatively stable or are not in flux at this particular time. The bottom line is considered the first line in your interpretation. So we're building the hexagram from the bottom up. And I did have to move my 7 down. It was too close to my question. So we're going to toss the coins again to get the second line of our hexagram. So we'll count them again. Yin 2, yang 3. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have another 7. I'm going to put that next line above the other line. We're going up, and we're stacking the hexagram up this way. Here's my finished hexagram, and I have 2 changing lines, 2 6s here and here. Now we'll consult the chart in the book to find out which hexagram we've drawn. So grab your book and turn to the chart in the back. The bottom 3 lines are called the lower trigram. The top 3 lines are the upper trigram. And you can see here they have lower and upper. So my lower trigram is solid, solid, broken. So it's tweed, solid, solid, broken, the lake. And now we look at the upper, broken, solid, broken. So broken, solid, broken on, I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm pronouncing those right, water. So now we look at where they intersect, and my hexagram number is 60. Now that we know our hexagram number, mine is 60, we just go through the book until we find our hexagram. And mine is number 60, 10, limitation. I know I have little notes that I have from other books, which is probably why this is my favorite book. And we just read the top part of the interpretation. I won't read the whole thing, but mine basically says not to set limitations and to define my purpose and responsibilities so that I have a clear idea of where to focus my energies. So it's telling me to practice balance and equanimity to allow steady spiritual progress. And it also is telling me to set practical limits throughout my life. Because I have a changing line in the 3rd line, I'm going to just flip the page to look at the line interpretations. And this is the 3rd line, 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to look at the 3rd line, and it's telling me do not engage in egotistical extravagances. Okay, I won't do that, I Ching. Now we have 4, 5, 6 is also changing. The 6th line is the top line. So I come over here, 6th line. Avoid severity with others at all costs. And of course, there's more to it that I won't get into that right now. And you can read your own interpretation and let me know how it goes. But wait, the I Ching isn't done with me yet because I have 2 changing lines. To get a deeper interpretation, you would want to take the lines that are changing and make them into their opposite. So 6s become solid lines, and if you had a 9, it would become broken. So my new hexagram is solid, 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 broken, solid, solid. So we go back to the chart, and it's Chien, heaven is the lower trigram. Got it right there. And now I'm looking for broken, solid, solid. So broken, solid, solid is sun or wind. So my new hexagram, to give me deeper insight, is hexagram 9. So we're going to turn into the book and find 9. And here's my 9, the taming power of the small. You are temporarily restrained. It is a time for taking small steps. Okay, and of course there's more. And on the changing one, you do not read any of the lines. You just stick to the top paragraphs in any book. So this is telling me about my book being made into a movie. I need to take some small steps. All right, I got you, I Ching. Time to keep writing. As promised, I told you I'd let you know an easier, faster way to get a reading. For this, you will need a book, but you don't have to bother building a hexagram or using the chart. So grab your book and sit quietly. Think of the question in your mind while holding the book. Fan through the book and stop at a page that feels right to you, or just open to a page that speaks to you, and read that page's opening paragraphs. Not the lines, just the paragraphs, and then you will get your answer. That is for sure the fastest way to get an I Ching reading. So why am I talking about the I Ching? My Anchor series is about the spiritual development of a teen warrior set against the backdrop of an epic quest fantasy. It's like Karate Kid meets Lord of the Rings. I draw heavily from the advice in the I Ching while writing my stories. The first book in my series is titled after hexagram number 51, Shock of Fate. The hexagram relates to the main character Vanessa Cross's story arc. She's a spoiled brat teenager and is forced to undergo a journey in a harsh alternate world where she faces mistreatment and has to develop discipline and control to retrieve an ancient relic called the Coin of Creation. This coin will not only get her home, but save her friends, what's left of her family, and the people she was born to protect. Vanessa has a spirit guide in the story named Jacynthia, who offers Van advice in the words of the I Ching. Hexagram number 51 translates to, when we exercise ego, our spiritual development stops and the universe must use shocking events to move us back onto our path. A continuing series of shocks occur until the obstruction in our attitude is removed. The only remedy for doubt and fear is reconnection to the higher truth. The sooner you return to acceptance of this truth, the sooner the shocks will stop. Van is shocked that there's another world, shocked about who her parents are, of who she is, and about what she has to do, and that there is no easy way out. Her journey involves figuring out the shocks happening to her are an attempt to move her onto her correct path. It will keep happening until she reconciles with her family line and faces the truth about who she is, why she's there, and what she has to do. As soon as she faces this, the shocks will stop. It is her destiny to get the Coin of Creation, so she is both shocked and fated for her journey. So you can see how the I Ching hexagram fits in perfectly with Vanessa Cross's story arc. In the story, one of the magical properties of the Coin of Creation is to show the holder the correct path, which coincides with the I Ching, in which we use coins. All the plots in my Anchor series books are inspired by readings in the I Ching. And each book begins with a hexagram that represents the character's story arc. I have book 2 here to show you that in the beginning of each book, it starts out with a hexagram and a reading, and it coincides with Van's character's story arc. Cool, right? The only other fantasy book I could find that used inspiration from the I Ching in their story is a novel written by Philip K. Dick, published in 1962, called The Man in the High Castle. The author features the I Ching in the story and in the actions of the characters. It's an alternative history novel that takes place 15 years after Japan and Germany won the Second World War, and the United States is split between the two countries' control. Classified as science fiction literature, The Man in the High Castle won the Hugo Award for Best Novel in 1963 and was an Amazon Prime Video series from 2012 to 2019. So I'm thinking The Man in the High Castle, Shock of Fate, both use reflections from the I Ching in their storyline, unlike hardly any other stories out there. So maybe Shock of Fate, well, I'm not even talking about a Hugo. How about just Prime Video? Hey, you never know. So you made it to the end of the video. As promised, I will tell you how to get a yes or no answer from the I Ching. When you toss the coins, a 9 is a yes, a 6 is a no, a 7 or an 8 is unclear. Let me demonstrate. Will my viewers like this video? I'm not going to tell you the reading. You tell me by commenting below. Keep in mind, the I Ching doesn't give a bad reading. It offers guidance. But as with any divination tool, you get a reading you don't like, please know that it's just for fun and for entertainment only. Having said that, what do you think? Can the I Ching be used to predict your future? Is it reality or is it fantasy? Let me know by leaving a comment. Thank you for watching your fantasy portal, the place where fantasy and fun come to life.